Okay, Mr. Mia, you can go ahead. We're live now. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mia Biye Kromiema. I speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees, or Board of Directors, as the Americans say, of the Diaspora Action for Democracy. My task here is to sort of give us a sense of general strategic direction of DADA. Our responsibility on the board is to actually provide strategic direction based on the Constitution and provide oversight for policy and oversight to the management, supervise them, and then also guide them with policies that they will then implement. And then, of course, always give the strategic directions that the management will then put into their tactical plans to move forward. Of course, from a strategic point of view, we know a lot of us who have been attending are clear what...
Disinfectant spray. Check. Because there is nothing in there. Hello. Hi.
Can we please mute so that we don't distract?
Go ahead, it's muted.
Okay, thank you. So our vision actually is essentially to take advantage of the diaspora community, leverage on the diaspora community to power engagement with Africa around the subject of democracy and good governance. That's the vision. We want to sort of, from an African point of view, and from an African meaning of democracy, that's the vision that we have. We want to give democracy an African meaning using diaspora networks, organizations, and leveraging their resources and their competencies. That's exactly what the vision of DADA is. And it is to that vision that we are committed to materializing the restoration of a robust, or a kindling, if you like, the civilizations that we've lost. Africa, like I keep saying, was the bastion of civilization, human civilization. And in some way, I will argue from my own point of view that Africa is still perhaps one of the most civilized. Let's remove modernization, our humanity. There is greater sense of humanity and civility in Africa than we probably think we do when we compare to others. So we must make the distinction between civilization and modernization so that we don't confuse our disease. So based on that, we then have a strategic, DADA has defined a strategic direction that has two basic purposes in mind: reawakening that African civilization within our current context and supporting the effort to modernize the African society. That is the thinking that we have in DADA as our purpose. That's a broad purpose that we have. Deriving from this purpose, we then have set out 5 goals that under which there are a set of objectives we want to accomplish under each of those 5 goals. One is to begin to build an African citizenship. The concept of citizenship, as we will know from our point of view, is that Africa has been so bastardized by Western thinking that we don't seem to have our own self-identity. We come into the West and then we lose ourselves. It's not happening with the Arabs. It's not happening with the Chinese. They are creating Chinese villages. It is not communities around them to preserve themselves. It's not happening even with the Asians. The Asians are not doing so. The Arabs are not doing so. But Africans just completely destroy their own hegemony and their own culture and identity issues and adopt that. So we are thinking of, from here, beginning to build African citizenship on an African Pan-African identity and citizenship around African identity and values. So that's one thing we are looking at. And we've itemized, for the purpose of brevity, I just want to give high-level positions on that for the purpose of brevity. So we are looking in that direction. And so you see a lot of objectives that will be geared towards creating programs and activities around citizenship. I mean, flowing from citizenship is actually leadership. And because we are focused on democracy, an African kind of democracy, will then sort of look at the type of leadership that we are looking at strategically. And then, of course, nurture a democratic culture in the way we do things, and then promote good governance. When you have those three elements, a democratic culture, democratic leadership, and an African citizenship orientation, then you can then put that in the context of good governance with the aim of delivering welfare to African people. So those are the 5 goals that we have set for ourselves strategically. And within those 5 goals, they are broken down into a set of objectives around which we hope to deliver activities as we move forward. And this is a long-term goal, century long, if you like. So we are not looking at, it's a marathon. We want to see how we can lay the foundation and perhaps give that foundation to another generation to continue to nurture. I was watching a video of a young girl who was lamenting. I mean, if anybody has seen it, she was lamenting that, okay, Kola, from the place where she comes from, Kola does not speak English language. And they tell them all sorts of very interesting, exciting things. But will they have those civilizations? Their parents, will it get lost with their fathers? Can they also, even though they do, have they not adulterated it? Can they hand it over to their children? Nobody's doing anything to cultivate that African identity in the things that they do, the foods they eat, the cuisines they dance. They are losing it and all of that. And she was lamenting, and it went viral. So there's really serious problem. And we're instead of us building our own culture, we are losing our culture and our identity, and we are not even defining our civilization within what we are intending to do. The Arabs come here, they insist on their standards. The Asians create their own community, and they are respected. So we need to think about that on the long-term strategic level. And this is what we are thinking of. In order to do this, we have sort of organized DADA into 10 regions. I mean, 10 regions because we are looking at the Pan-African region, with the Caribbean region, we are looking at the North American region, we're looking at Europe, we are looking at the Arabs world, we are looking at the Asian world. And then within that, we're also looking at the 5, after those 5 regions, we are then looking at the 5 regions of Africa, North Africa, East, West, Central, and Southern Africa as regions we want to sort of set up our system so that we can hold existing frameworks and build the identity issues and cultural issues at that area. So our work essentially is to get those systems working. And so we have a board of trustees for which I represent here, speaking on their behalf, where we also have an executive committee. And of course, within the executive committee, you see the programs unit where a set of programs are being done. We have, in the Constitution, we are looking to brand ourselves with a good number of honorary advisors. We are looking at who are the people who can who have the type of values and identity that can give us that personality, that corporate personality that we are looking for. So we have a system where we'll get people into the honorary advisors and the technical advisors who are helping us. Like one of the lecturers that comes in today is a potential technical advisor to us if we sort of build that relationship with him because of his vast experience and knowledge. And there are a lot of such technical people who can be useful to us as we go along and build these structures and put them in place. Just to end this part of the show, we have we've developed, I think, a couple of strategies from networking to partnerships to leveraging people, personalities, resources, and so on. All sorts of defined strategies and programs, economic welfare programs that can strengthen that. We talk of various types of governance, economic governance, environmental governance, security sector governance, legislative sector governance, all the various parameters of that makes democracy strong There are programmatic things that we have sort of defined for ourselves to sort of pursue. So this is the thinking that DADA is pursuing actively, and we are taking baby steps. Like we said, we are not like wanting to do a marathon. And one way we have thought, because the majority of us who are originating this dream are originating from Nigeria and West Africa, we are deliberately trying to see that we put a strong basis for that to happen within a piloting system in Nigeria. Updates from the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees was fully constituted in about a month ago, and 2 months ago rather, and we had our first inaugural board meeting. And one of the things we've been doing before the board came on is to use conferencing to leverage membership mobilization. In our discussion at the board, we recognize that the idea of democracy is still very sublime to some people. So can we reduce it to the level where they can connect with it and be associated with it? So we said we should enhance the democratic discourses that we are having here through conferences by creating a vehicle that can also look at the issue of incentivizing our members with economic initiatives. So we agreed by resolution to set up a mechanism, an SPV, independent of DADA, that can then begin to support members to then access welfare benefits. So we are sort of creating a trust where people can buy equity, and those equities can be used to sort of promote valuable economic benefits for our members, and then begin to use that to drive membership. And people know that one of our objectives is welfare. One of the fifth goal that we established for ourselves is welfare. And so if we go back to that goal 5, we just think that it fits into what we are now thinking of. Let's begin to think of the welfare of our members by saying, okay, if you're able to buy $20 share every month, or $50 share every month in an aggregate number of persons, can we deploy that to make people begin to earn money so that they will know that DADA is not just about high-end thinkings, but then, of course, we're also concerned about the basic needs of people that can grow over time to begin to help ourselves and then our community back in Africa through the initiatives that we put in place, but purely economic initiatives that will do that. So that's the resolution we took, and we are working on that. It's an extensive process that we are going through. We have agreed to make sure the board creates an appropriate policy for that. So it's not just a resolution, but that we issue a policy to establish a diaspora community trust. And when that diaspora community trust is set up, when that policy comes, we will hand it over to management. And the management of DADA will then we'll go and register the trust, and that trust can have its own board and management and drive DADA members to then begin to contribute to equity within the available laws of the United States and best practices so that we can begin to invest. So we'll throw up that policy. That policy will lead to a company, and that company will take subscribers, and those subscribers will be the persons who drive that process. Any person that wants to then invest, buy shares from there, and little shares to do little things that will then help them move forward. We believe that with the conference we are doing and with the trust that comes and all that, from which DADA will be promoting well, when that trust system comes and begins to invest, we'll probably begin to generate more interest because people will be more invested in what DADA is doing. In a nutshell, we want to use a business to drive membership, where members will subscribe within law. So when that happens, I'm very sure people will subscribe to that and they will decide what they want to invest in, even though the board, when we looked at it, looked at potential things that will get to the market very fast and sustain the passion and the interest of people and the pride and the dignity of members of DADA that the type of investments that we are doing is actually advancing the democratic aspirations that DADA really have. We don't just want to do any and anything, but anything we do be connected to what DADA represents in Africa. So those ideas will probably go to the board, the other company, whenever it is established by the policy and the program design that management will do. Another thing that has concerned us is to also begin. So the board and the ESCO met, and we're also looking at another policy that will guide us to become more collaborative. In fact, we've had a couple of meetings. We've had a meeting with NADECO. We are also having a meeting with NIDO. We've already connected them. I've been discussing with a couple of people. Since I assumed I've taken that as a responsibility, I'm discussing actively, but I've also given some of those people I've discussed with a lot of African organizations to Mr. President to follow up on. And when that policy rolls in stream, we will have a basis to form formal relationship with a number of African organizations in Kenya, in Uganda, all sorts of groups that I'm talking with, get into their WhatsApp group, have collaborative arrangements while we continue to build the Nigerian vision that we have. The pilot for even the economic agenda we have is focused on Nigeria, and it's going to be a food security program that will be on TV. So it will generally promote the brand of DADA and create an ecosystem, because it's going to be a cooperative system where communities are organized, and when they form those cooperatives that will be benefiting from that process will recognize DADA as the promoter of the initiative, so they will then begin to be aware of DADA and make us move. Those things we have been handled in the board meeting, and extensive discussions have happened. So that's the board update. As to building structures, this is not yet before the board, but just to report to you that we are going to formally get into the process of declaring certain offices, representative offices vacant. And when we do that, we will actively shop for them. We will put them on Indeed, we will put them on everywhere, we'll engage. So regional representatives on the board are going to be declared vacant. I mean, the formal official process of declaring, okay, Caribbean representative, East African representative, North African representative, African American representative. When I present that to the board and the board agrees to it, we will formally issue those things vacant and solicit for people based on criteria that we will establish, and make sure DADA has representative from each region on the board of directors, so that they can feel represented. And if for any reason we don't get people, they know that we didn't abandon them. It will be there on our website, it will be there in our social media platforms and everywhere, that well, it is for them to sort of take advantage of this if they meet those criteria. And there are people who may volunteer. I mean, we don't know, God will just bless us. We'll find people who will volunteer when they begin to see some of the things we are doing. I think that's where the update on what the Board of Trustees is considering to do is. And I'll yield the floor to Mr. President and thank him for the opportunity for giving the board to make itself and what it is doing known, and the progress that it is seeking to make known in the 1 month of active work that we already commenced. And we shall be very accountable to you guys. You are the owners of the organizations. You entrusted us with a responsibility to provide guidance, and will continue to do that for you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the insight and detailed presentation. I'm sure our guests now have a good understanding of what the objectives and the aims of DADA are. So hopefully I will encourage members to please follow DADA in all their social handles. Our guy, Mr. Kevin, will be letting us know how people can join DADA, how they can also participate in building this organization into a formidable organization. You are all welcomed again. And just to add to that, what the chairman has just said, to the collaborations DADA has been having, for us to be able to get authentic and straightforward, unbiased, non-interference in reporting of political news all over Africa. We have also partnered in some sense with Diaspora Digital Media, who currently is, going out and making news out there for Nigerians to see, unbiased news that are not politically motivated. Just tell it the way it is and let the world see. And the way this diaspora media is constituted in such a way that they are going to be operating from outside of the interference of political leaders in Africa. So having said that, I don't know if our guest speaker is here yet. If not, if Kevin can please give the audience here, please, ways on how to join DADA and what exactly DADA can offer through the website and the rest of them. Thank you. Kevin, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to DADA. Samia has already given an overview about DADA, and I want to encourage anyone who wants to join DADA to actually go to our website. I'll be posting the website on the chat room. DADA is a Pan-African organization established as a vehicle to mobilize all African diaspora across the world to organize and deploy people of African descent, their competencies, resources, social capital, with the aim of making Africa a better society, well-governed, and positioned to take its place among the community of nations. If you want to join that, you can go to our website, Diaspora Action for Democracy, in the Diaspora Action for Democracy.org, and all you have to do is just to click on register button, and you can sign up there. I'll be posting it on the chat room right now. Once you sign up, you're getting a confirmation link, and to be a full complete member, you need to pay about $10 per month. That encourages us to be able to fund that and to be able to fund most of the projects and programs that DADA is going to be undertaking, and just the way the board of directors president talked about. So I'll encourage you to go to the chat room. I just posted it there, a link, and you can register there directly on DADA, and you'll be a part of us. You'll also be added to our special WhatsApp groups. We have which we will also be posting shortly on the chat section, so you can also join and keep yourself abreast with happenings about Africa, engage in discussions, constructive discussions, and in ways that we can make Africa a much better society, to have better leaders, and that will be. So I've posted it, the link on the chat room. I'll also be posting our chat groups shortly. If you have any issues on the website, you can also always let us know. There's a link to contact us. There's a link to contact us directly. There's a chat link to contact us directly in case you're having any issues on the site. And that chat link is at the bottom right corner of the site, and it links you direct to someone who's going to attend to you, a live person who's going to attend to you in case you're having any issues about DADA. So there's the About Us page for you to know about DADA, and there's also the register button. You click it and you'll be able to join. So, and we also encourage you to become a full member of DADA. Let's do something about Africa to make Africa a much better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I will just add a little bit to what Kevin has just said. I think we have social media handles, which is going to be posting on the chat link for you to follow DADA. And then contribute to the development of this organization. We here alone in the management or the BOT are not going to be able to build this organization without you folks who at least take out your time to come in here every month to listen to our speakers, give us some objective analysis of which way Africa should go. And also, I want to encourage us also to please, when you register, if you can be paying that $10 a month, it will go a long way. I'm looking at a situation whereby $120, it might sound a lot, but it's really not a lot. Because if we are able to create a better Africa, I'm sure each and every one of us here sends more than $20, $120 a year to their family members at home. If Africa is great and they're all doing well, we don't have to send them any money, and probably we'll even benefit from them sending us money too. We are looking forward to the day that will happen. So thanks again. And I don't know if our guest speaker is here. If not, I will please ask Mr. Dan Elomba, who is our contact with him, to let us know if there's any presentation he has from our guest speaker that he can do on his behalf. We are really sorry, Africa, even if we are in a modern society today, Africa is still way backwards. Everything to them is like rocket science. Even ordinary electricity they can produce. Telecommunication they cannot manage. You have folks in Africa having 2, 3, 4 cell phones at the same time. Those of us in the Western world or Eastern world, I'm sure you've only had one phone for over 20 years, and it's been functioning without any disruption unless you don't pay your bills. So ladies and gentlemen, may I call on Dan Elomba to give us an update on our speaker, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. I spoke with Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu, the former Minister of Finance of Nigeria, and he promised to be at this meeting, that he added a caveat in line with what you've just said, that I know that he's in Nigeria at the moment. He normally resides in the United States, but and being in Nigeria will mean that there could be network issues, light issues. I've tried to call him several times throughout today because he asked me to remind him, and he also begged me to provide data on the subject matter he's going to speak about. And I tried to provide the data, but then I tried to get in touch with him today. He's not able to, he wasn't picking my call. It was when he wasn't picking my call that I knew that we may have a problem in our hands. And I contacted another, I think Professor, what's his name again? He promised to be, he's told me that this is impromptu because I just contacted him about 3 hours ago. He said, well, this is impromptu, that he will look at his battery in line with what you are saying again to see whether he will get enough, whether his battery has enough, is charged enough. So if it's charged enough and he's able to join, I've been trying to call him again. The line is no longer going through. So that means maybe his battery is dead. He wasn't able to charge up his phone. So that is where we are. So I think what I'm going to do is to present the data I prepared for Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu, and then we may have a conversation around it. First of all, I don't know whether any of us watched that video by Dr. Damages. I think he's Dr. or he's just Mr. Rudolph Okonkwo, where he interviewed, what's her name again? Aisha Yusuf. And Aisha Yusuf is saying that Nigerian diasporans are the most foolish set of Nigerians we ever had. I will not adopt her language as mine, but the point Aisha Yusuf is making is that he cannot understand how Nigerian diasporans will be sending billions of dollars every month to Nigeria and yet does not have a vote. That was why the United States went to war against Britain, if we remember, I think in if my history serves me right, in the 18th century. You cannot, taxation without representation is anathema to democratic principles. So how can we, diaspora, be remitting billions of dollars to Nigerians? and yet diasporans do not have the vote. So the essence is how could diasporans leverage the billions of dollars they remit to Africa every year to influence developments in the continent? So let me give just a brief data which I prepared for Dr. Idika Kalu. In 2022, remittance inflows into Africa totaled an estimated $100.1 billion, accounting for approximately 3.5% of Africa's total GDP. And so the World Bank report stated that remittances are crucial for many African countries because it represents over 20% of GDP in some cases. So let us break it down further. Sub-Saharan Africa. Remittances to Sub-Saharan Africa grew an estimated 5.2% to $53 billion in 2022, compared to a higher growth rate of 16.4% in the previous year. Among the countries receiving the highest number of figures is Nigeria and Kenya. West African countries received nearly $34 billion in remittances in 2022, and migrants from this region increasingly sent money back home to support their families. The World Bank report says these remittances play a vital role in supporting households, alleviating poverty, and contributing to economic resilience across the continent. It is having a strong impact on people's lives in the regional economy. Let us put this in perspective. Let us take diaspora remittances to Nigeria, for instance. Nigeria receives significant remittances from its diaspora with the following key points. In 2019, remittances exceeded $25.368 billion, which is about 5.6% of Nigeria's GDP. So between 2015 and 2022, Nigerians abroad sent a total of $168.33 billion back home. In 2022, remittances of Nigerians diaspora to their home country totaled about $19.8 billion. Prime Water Coopers estimate that remittances could grow to $34.8 billion by 2023, which is where we are now. And yet, despite the pandemic in 2021, Nigerians and diaspora still remitted $19.2 billion to the country. Again, let's put this in perspective. The budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2024 is $28.78 trillion. In dollars, in 2024, Nigeria's budget is $39.8 billion. Remember, we said that diaspora remittances to Nigeria in 2022 is in 2023 is $34.8 billion. So check this. Diaspora remittances, Nigerian diaspora remittances back to Nigeria in 2023 was $34.8 billion. The federal government budget in 2024 is $39.8 billion. It then means that the amount of money you and I send to Nigeria in a year is basically the same amount of money that the federal government of Nigeria budgets in 1 year. And that is 5.6% of total Nigeria's GDP. So the question before this meeting tonight is there a way that Nigerians in diaspora or Africans in diaspora can leverage this huge amount of money they are sending back to Africa and to Nigeria to advance good governance? I believe we can have a conversation around this point. I think all of us will have something to say. So let me prefer an opinion and then we'll listen to yours as well. In 2022 and 2023, something happened in Nigeria that could perhaps change the face of Nigerian politics forever. And that is the obedient movement. The entrance of P2B into the political equation in Nigeria, altered political calculus. And I can assure you that now, every politician in Nigeria is recalculating his moves. And why? Because many Nigerians, if P2B, for instance, spent maybe 1 billion naira in his campaign, Nigerians in diaspora contributed 80% of that money. About 300 support groups rose up. And I believe that between 60 or 70% of whatever they spent in campaigning for P2B came from the diaspora. P2B support network, for example, 90% of whatever P2B support network spent in P2B's campaign came from the diaspora. And I think that has awakened the eyes of Nigerians in diaspora as to the power they have to either change government, advance good policies, or good governance. And the question before them now is, the ball is now in your court. What will the diaspora do with this power they have now suddenly realized is in their hands? I believe we can have a conversation around that. One of the ways they can do that is, of course, sponsor developmental outreach, enlighten and educate their people, set up developmental projects. I know Mr. Martin has always talked about education, education, education. You know more about Africa standing outside and looking inside. But when you are inside, your views are clouded. So, ladies and gentlemen, the amount of money you send to Nigeria every year is almost equal the budget of the federal government of Nigeria. What do we intend to do with this power? Thank you very much, and we're here to listen.
Thank you, Dan. It's just very unfortunate that our speaker and all the other connections we had in Nigeria for today didn't come through because of certain unforeseen circumstances. And we are very sorry for that to our guests, our visitors today to this conference. So I would like to please have folks, if you have any comment or if you have any contribution to this discussion that we're going to record and probably put in our objectives, and that we can use to at least bring good governance to Africa using the funds that you have been sending to your people. From what Mr. Adan just showed, diasporans are the ones keeping Africa alive. Without diasporans, Africa will be destitute and famine will be the talk of the town and the thing of the day. So I think diasporans need a big congratulations for trying to keep their people alive back home. So please, if you have any comments to make or you have any questions, I'm going to leave this to Dr. Cheta to please handle this moderation. And if there are any questions, please, Dr. Cheta, please, can you please take over? Thank you.
Hello. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, and thank you so much, Dan, for the speech and, for enlightening us further about how much our diaspora contributed to trying to achieve good governance in Nigeria. Despite of that, it's still painful that we didn't succeed, but we can't give up. So I was really hoping that Dr. Idika Kalu can, in his speech, will be able to give us insights of, things we can do more. Now it's kind of like we're marking time, what else, how else can we channel some of these funds? But I think Dan, during the week, somebody was asking, so this is Nigeria specific, right? Somebody was asking, I think P2B said something about erecting wells in more than 10,000 or 20,000 wells across the country. And somebody reached out to me and said, can't the diaspora groups champion this, and make this a reality? And I think I sent that to you, Dan. That it might be something COPDEM might be able to liaise with diaspora groups, since this is kind of like a goodwill, but in a way it's also meeting people at their basic needs and also advancing, good governance in the sense of, we think it will be, at least for the Nigeria setting, is the epitome of that. So I don't know what you think of that, Dan. That's like kind of an example of how diasporas can invest their money in practical terms in trying to win hearts, so to speak. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any other comments, you can raise your hands and then we can go from there. And again, this is just not Nigeria specific, or it's kind of across the board. Thank you.
I see Miabia's hand is up, Cheta.
Okay, because I'm not I'm not hosting, so I can't really see.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. If I, Cheta, do I have the floor?
Yes, please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Dan for providing that critical statistic. It's a statistic a lot of us have engaged, and it is also nice to see us engage it in collective sense here. It's a statistics to look at, to give attention to. Don had presented that statistic from the point of view. Okay, sorry, thank you. Somebody is asking me to lower my hand if I'm done talking. So it's my point of view. But Dan had given us his own perspective, his own take from a political perspective. I would want to look at it from a political economic perspective. Well, Dan's position actually, or the diaspora remittance, the 34 billion that diaspora has put in 2023 is actually like some a Galaxy phone holder, Sony Galaxy S9 has indicated that we are sending it to our families and our individual project, meaning that it is going into the Nigerian economy to boost the Nigerian economy. And Dan also gave a perspective where he said, look, this money, we largely funded Peter Obi. So at the political level, if we were able to use the character and the person and the competence of Peter Obi to generate a political ecosystem that came alive, with just how much did he spend compared to the monies that the politicians spent? You can relatively know that it is not money that is the problem. It is the ability to organize Nigerians, reorient them properly, and energize them to drive a political process. When the right type of inspirational leadership and committed and exemplary leadership is in place, Nigerians in diaspora will rally around that person and pull themselves together. So looking at it from that perspective, from the political perspective, organization is key. And that organization seemed to be weak across Africa, using the Nigerian example, for instance. And that organization needs to be strengthened from that perspective. But you know the West. In the West, we don't, because of the time we put in our work, trying to earn the dollar, to be able to meet our bills, and to be able to also meet this type of commitments of making sure our loved ones at home are growing and surviving. I mean, I don't know whether there is growth, because poverty is increasing by the day and it's surviving. So at least for them to survive and for us to also put a little pins there, we have been able to send 34 billion naira. My question, or the point I want to interrogate is, how do we organize this 34 billion that goes into the economy in such a more efficient and effective way that we can create an ecosystem, a sustainable ecosystem that will be on ground? Because at this point, today, I engaged that particular thing that had gone viral over the years on the internet about these dots, Africans and the disconnected dots. And when the dots are connected, you see that there is power, there is a web. But when the dots are not connected, each dot is on its own. And what we are doing with this 34 billion is each person sending his own thing without a strategic overview, a good look at what you want to do. And so you're isolated and you're powerless. If we can find a way to put that dot, just as we did with Peter Obi, we put the dots together, created a system of network and an ecosystem, and it created impact. We can begin to sort of look at a more creative, productive, and constructive way of organizing these resources to target, to create an ecosystem that says, okay, 34 billion naira, it is going into this, and we are seeing its impact, not individually, but it is aggregated into organized program to see if you're building a house, how do we make sure we know that that house you're building is making sense to the collective interest of Africans in diaspora? About 100, and Dan mentioned 100 and something billion going to Africa from across all of African diaspora, with Nigeria sending about 30 billion, which is about 30% of what goes into Africa. So it's a good example to begin to think, and perhaps that is one of the reasons why, in thinking about the trust that we put, that's a way to put ourselves. We want to send resources there. If, for instance, the thing that we are doing in DADA, every other African organization is organized to do that, and every African organization has a trust, and you're investing there, creating jobs and creating ecosystems and creating greater knowledge, greater awareness about democratic issues. I think that that idea of organized groups pushing money into in a productive, market-oriented way, setting up ecosystems, little ecosystems with on ground there, can begin to build that network that we are looking for. Because the individual thing will continue to make us foolish, to use Aisha's words. But when we begin to pull that resources and say, okay, this year, DADA was able to generate $1 million through the share equity that it put. And with that $1 million, it is able to create food security that created this number of jobs and created this number of businesses and this number of output in terms of agro products, for instance. We can then begin to see that that agro product ecosystem that we've created will permanently hold its loyalty to where it is coming from. And we can then begin to inject our political ideas into that ecosystem and have a sustained mechanism to engage the Nigerians, the rogues that are in the Nigerian system, and indeed any other African system, to move forward. So that's my own contribution. To put it in short form, first, I think that enough money is going there from us. We need to organize that money into a network and target it in such a way that it is not money that just disappears, but it is productively creating value in the marketplace and creating an ecosystem that we can use to continue to fight, so that organizations will come out, so that it's not just individual efforts that are going on. That's the contribution that I think I want to sort of put on the table for us to continue to discuss. And that's the idea behind our desire to create a trust system for DADA, as a separate vehicle trust system for DADA, where resources will go there, create an ecosystem, earn us benefits, because some of those things don't really earn us direct benefit. But it can earn us direct benefits here, create jobs there, and help our brothers and sisters out there. Thank you very much, Dan, for steering this discussion in this direction.
Okay, thank you so much, Mabiye. That's excellent. You know, the economic part of your discussion here is so critical, because if you remember what Professor Patutomi said once, I think sometime last year, that there was a time India was really in big trouble and they were basically bankrupt. That it was really their diaspora that pumped in a lot of money, and some of it through the trust mechanism you're talking about, that was able to sort of reset the country. So, but the question everybody will always be nervous about is, you know, how will this trust be created? I've mentioned in the past, I think it was Dr. Cordelia that mentioned that there was a trust fund that was created during Obasanjo era, and a lot of diaspora invested as much as $100,000 each. It was a health fund, and till today is unaccountable. But I think that the devil is in the details, right? Because I think maybe we'll talk about this, that this trust is really going to be fraud proof, so to speak, because that's what will elicit confidence in people investing in it. But Dr. Cordelia's hand is up. Let me go to her. Thank you. Dr. Cordelia, I have the floor.
Thank you, Tete. Yes, thanks for all the prior speakers. Yes, diasporans have shown their power and don't know that we need to really have the right to vote. I mean, we have shown we can move Nigerians, and now they're all looking up to us. And that's part of the reason we have DADA. That's part of the reason we have DDM. Okay, and listen, they're all joining to see what these people have to say and do. That they're gonna tell us the truth. They don't have fears. So for private, Mia mentioned. There's no, there is, I mean, we have a whole lot of private projects and families that we're uplifting in Nigeria. We'll continue to do those. And if the government, although they're trying to prop up the Naira value, keep it low, the aspirants will move money, will really move money. So although it's artificially they're trying to bring it up by limiting these other agencies that, the forest groups that exchange money. Vietnam, I just learned their money is 2,400 to $1. It doesn't really. What matters is what you're doing to bring up to export. When you keep your money cheap, things are going to move in. Especially you guys have so many diasporans, and they're going to move in. And when they move in, they are not moving in to waste their money. They're moving in for real development. So they should keep that Naira value low, and they will see what will happen. And I read something, so I need to go and read that to you guys. I read something this morning that they're setting up some diaspora fund, 10 billion. They're looking for managers. I'm looking for that. Yeah. This was written, an article written on April 26 by Isaac Anyogo. Nigeria seeks managers for planned 10 billion diaspora fund. And this fund seeks to pull together billions of dollars remitted monthly by its citizens overseas for local investments, including infrastructure, healthcare, and education. And so they went ahead to say how much diaspora remitted. And so I don't know, when I read it, Doris Anit, Minister of Industry and Trade, in a statement said it is an unprecedented opportunity for our citizens in diaspora to drive Nigerians' economic growth. So, and Chete just mentioned the one that the AMPA top physicians each gave $100,000 many years ago through Obasanjo. And they thought they were going to influence, I believe 10 of them or more. Okay, they were going to influence healthcare delivery in Nigeria. And what happened, what's that guy's name? The tall guy, Elu somebody.
Elu.
Yeah, Elu, yeah, took over the management and the money disappeared. So, and up to today, those people never got a penny out of it, and no accountability of that. So, I don't know what they are calling us up. All they need to do, keep that dollar value low. We are coming in. I mean, when people have $50, you see them save it. I mean, we just had the function. Do you know that this year was so tough to sell a ticket to an average Nigerian in US? When you tell them $100, they say, $100, do you know what it's worth in Nigeria? So they keep that Naira value. Everybody will empty their pocket here to go to Nigeria to do something. That's my advice to them. They should not go there and be trying to control it. Let it float. China purposely leaves its currency low. All of them, all these big superpowers, they do the same thing. So and until and they should leave it low so diaspora can rush in and develop and produce things that now they can use to strengthen their foreign reserves. That's all my all I have to say today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kedelia. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think Dr. Kedu's hand is up. You have the floor.
Yes, please. Good evening, all. From here, from London. Yeah, I know it should be afternoon somewhere else. Well, it's a very interesting topic. I will start by taking the position of Elumba. I think our attitude and tendencies seem to be stupid, as the lady made mention of. I mean, of the diasporans. Sending those huge amount of capital to our homeland is not maybe the way to solve the problem that is facing us. But I don't want to speak from the economic angle. I would like to speak from the political aspect because it's the core issue. That's the problem. We've done our best during Mr. Peter B's candidacy, but still, you can see that we didn't do well because we didn't study the terrain very well. Up to now that we're here, we've not even been able to understand the terrain. How are we coping up with what is happening within the Labour Party? We've not been able to make a very detailed and strategic analysis so as to know what next to do. But you can see that we are still within that shadow of Labour and other political realities. But however, I want to give my opinion from political point of view. And technically, I don't want to be partisan because I think Peter B's interest motivated many of us, not from partisan point of view, but from the concrete fact that was coming out from him. So what I want to say is that we cannot, DADA with its scope and objectives. I think the simplest one that can be put on table now should be time-framed. For instance, having such a framework that can permit them to have maybe within the Federal House 4 senators to start with and some members of representatives that with straightly or directly identify with DADA or who might be DADA delegates. They should start to think about such political lab. You know, that's how it starts. It must start from a micro level before we can see the larger reality, because the country we're talking about is very complex. So what I mean now all these things we are saying without having a very little or strong political foundation in which we might make reference of our objectives. It would be very, very difficult. It would be a bit abstract in nature, because we can see it from the experience we've gotten with Peter Obi and the Labour Party. Now, what end result or what future objective have we been able to get from there is still to be defined. So what I mean, if we can start having little laboratory in which we can say, can we be able to have a senator that we can identify? For instance, in the present dispensation in Nigeria, notwithstanding all the economic contribution and all the effort, we cannot boldly say here that maybe this senator or this, even within the Labour Party, can directly, even all these invitations we are talking about, those that would have been coming up to the platform to tell us more would have been the senators or the legislators that we sent to the Federal House. We'll be pointing out the reality, and then we're giving them the right feedback of what they should do there. So I think if we can start from there, it will solve most of the problems. Call it the meaning of maybe the remittances and whatever technical know-how of our people in diaspora, the money where, if we don't have a stronghold, what I mean by stronghold, I don't mean majority, but if we don't have a strong point of reference that we know can reason like us, it would be very difficult it would be very, very difficult. So my own contribution is that in all these things we're saying, can we start to think about little micro laboratory that can be able to produce something? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu. Thank you so much. That's a very fantastic contribution. I'd say DADA is non-partisan, and even if that's a good idea, but I guess if we get involved with politicians at that level, it has to be on like non-partisan bills. I think there are some other Nigerian, groups in Nigeria, like maybe COPDEM or some of these groups who really have opportunity to do things in a very partisan way. But nonetheless, it's a great contribution. I think our only challenge here is, knowing the right politician, and that our crop of politicians most of them are nothing to write home about. But we have to remain optimistic. So moving on, I would Mr. Martin Ebwe's hand is up. I'll call on him. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cheta. Thank you very much for the moderation. And I'd like to thank all the contributors that have made comments on this issue today. Going by everything that I have heard so far, I want to start with the fund arrangement that was made during the Obasanjo period. It didn't come to me as a surprise or news to hear that that money was embezzled. Because when you run a corrupt organization, when you run a criminal enterprise, it will be stupid for anyone in that organization to be able to convince you from outside to give them your money. If I had had the opportunity then, I wouldn't have given them a penny, because I would have known that that is how the money is going to end. Elumelu is from my area. His brother is a very wealthy guy. Instead of him to create a name for his family, he chose to follow his criminal enterprise folks. My advice to diasporans is this: if you are going to put up any money in Nigeria, whether the initiative is coming from the government or not, yeah, they can bring up the initiative, but hand it over completely to the diasporans without any government interference. If you give them an inch to control that money, kiss your money goodbye. I promise you that. You can mark that today and come back to me maybe in 5 years and tell me where your money is. I don't want to say everybody bring your money to the initiative that DADA is doing. No, it's up to you to decide if it's going in the right direction and you want to contribute to it, being part of the process, not only putting your money in there and walking away. Being part of the process, say, yes, this is going to help develop Nigeria, bring me some return on my investment. That takes me back a little bit. We are spilling out $38 billion, $35 billion sent to Nigeria. From my own little estimate, 20 billion of that money went into Ashwebi and parties, not for production. Think about it. Oh, somebody died in the village, you're sending in money. They use the money to buy 20 goats. They buy 30 cows to bury the dead, while the living is hungry after the burial. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm saying we need to try to reorientate our people back home. That these are the important things. You don't have to give away your culture like, oh, don't spray money anymore. No. Our forefathers sprayed money, but they sprayed money with their conscience. You don't go to a party and spray 50 billion, but there is no road to the party. There's no water in the community, you spray the 50 billion naira. It doesn't make any sense. So if we are going to fund any initiative by the Nigerian government, yeah, we like your initiative, but you have to hand it over to us in diaspora. The trust has to be registered in the United States where it can be regulated, not by the Nigerian government. Because I know in Nigeria, you can do whatever you, if Elumelu had been a senator or a representative in America, he will be in jail today, I promise you that. But in Nigeria, they are all above the law, where the driver of the honorable is honorable. It might sound funny, but it is not funny to me. So that's what I'm going to leave for now. If there's anything that comes to mind, we'll come back to it. But please, if you're going to send money for development in Nigeria, do not hand it to Nigerian government. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Martin. I think what you just said is in consonance with what Mabie said earlier, in terms of the trust and how the trust is going to be structured in a way that is going to be very difficult for anybody to tamper with it. Because, we in diaspora have learned a lot in terms of, losing money in such ways. Yeah, so I think Dan has his hand up. Newsband, is that Dan?
Yes, but please, if we can get somebody else, hand was up, but it wasn't recognized. So
I'm sorry, I didn't see the hand. Yeah, I'm guessing. You want to take over,
yes,
get someone?
if he's still available to speak here.
Yes, sir. Actually, I raised up my hand and eventually lowered it. But since I've been given the opportunity, I would like to make some observation. I think Dr. Kedi made some valid point. It's about good governance. The reason why we're here, even as we speak today, is because of we saw in P2B as an agent of change. We were mobilized. And two things. Like he said, here they said you can chew gum and walk. And then we talk about multitasking. Because quite frankly, like we have all observed, Nigerian situation is a very complex situation. 30 billion, from what I learned, don't know if it's 30 billion or so amount were remitted to Nigeria. But Yahaya Bello stole 8 billion. That's twice of what I think is in dollars, yeah, but $80 billion. I stand corrected. $80 billion.
80 billion naira, which is about.
Oh, I'm sorry, 80 billion naira. Okay, so if you do the math,
is $34 billion.
Okay, so that's just Yahaya Bello from Kogi. So I think we have, my own suggestion is that we have to be multitask and approach this from multi-dimensional level. While we're building the economic opportunity and incentive, but we also might start bringing some of these, like Dr. Katie said, I don't know if I said his name correctly, bringing one senator of Labour Party and asking, them, what are they doing, for instance, having diasporans to be able to vote? So we can deal with that particular individual. We can deal with, from the House of Representatives, one individual, bringing them on board here, because I'm sure in 2027, they might need our support again. And this is not being partisan, because you can always bring somebody from the APC, if you see the person to be an agent of change. But asking these direct questions to these people and says, what legislatures do you have regarding against corruptions, regarding to reform in the judiciary, regarding to reform in INEC, again, for the diasporans to vote. We should consider such micro level while we're building our economic incentive. And then one of somebody also mentioned about what P2B is doing in the North, the boreholes and stuff like that. Maybe we should also consider supporting that aspect as part of our approach to pop him up and to support him. And hopefully by 2027, because at the end of it all, even if we invest $1 trillion in Nigeria, not discounting some of the benefits, Nigeria is a very wealthy country. Nigeria can build the electricity. There are a whole lot that the country with its enormous amount of wealth can do. The problem is that we have what to be called criminal gangs who have hijacked the state and making it now, imposing it on us to be providing all these economic opportunities to our loved ones, which is actually what the responsibility of the government should have been. One group here, and I'm concluding, one group is doing something fantastic here. I think they're doing what they call Citizens Courageous Award. This might be taking place sometime in June, where they have identified key individuals. In fact, I was at a meeting yesterday. They have identified some key individuals they plan to give an award. I believe it will be taking place in Abuja, which are the heroes of democracy. They are recognizing a Fenifere leader, I think, can't remember his name, the old chairman. The lady that was attacked in Lagos, that almost got blinded. I think just about 4 individuals or so, and I'm sorry, Dr. Nena Oti, who resisted bribery and everything. So they're giving such an award to these individuals, which is another way to promote good governance. So my summary is we may have to think about having a multi-approach to this in order to be able to achieve the goal, because 2027 is coming around. Nigeria has to change. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Samani. Always insightful as a contribution. Insightful. Thank you so much. Is Dan still there? Hello.
Oh yes, thank you. I only want to make a brief comment regarding what have been proffered regarding practical steps we can take to help, apart from simply remitting funds. I think Mr. Ebe said something about the money sent to Nigeria being used to purchase Asuebi, funerals, and marrying a second and third wife, and so on. Personally, belonging to some organizations where they simply gather to do some of these things, I don't I don't contribute to them. But if it is where we are empowering citizens, paying school fees, job acquisition centers, then that is something that we could think about. There is something we are starting called Diaspora Digital Academy. So something along that line. I don't think whether this is the appropriate forum to discuss that, but I just want to mention it in passing, whereby a group of diasporans will get together, build an academy, and teach people employable skills. And once you graduate from that academy, you have a job. So if such type of empowerment is what I would think diasporans will apparently pay more attention to. Someone also posted in the forum that this idea of simply sending money to families, in line with what Martin said, may also not necessarily be good economic empowerment. We all know the Chinese proverbs, give me a fish, I'll eat it for a day. Teach me how to fish, you feed me for a lifetime. So if diasporans will concentrate more on teaching people employable skills, that will even help, because one experience you get from some of these organizations like COPDEM and support groups are having is that when you recruit someone to help you to advance a course, and that person is hungry, that person doesn't have a job, it becomes a problem for him to do what you want him to do. When you give him 100,000 naira to execute a project, if the wife is already in the hospital and dying, we had that experience, he'll first take the money to go and take care of the wife in the hospital before executing your project. But if you have empowered him, for instance, if he has a job where he's earning up to earning a living wage, then he will not be in a position to execute a project you want him to execute. I think that is some of the areas where we also can pay attention to. I have loved to respond to what Dr. Okadu said about what's happening, but this is an open forum. I don't think I'll be able to do that, in an open forum where it is being streamed live, unless we can have a conversation after this. So thank you very much.
Oh, okay, thank you so much, Dan. I think that's a great initiative. If it eventually comes to fruition, because that's what a lot of Nigerian needs. What is youth unemployment now is what officially?
It is coming into fruition. We have already trained 16 people already, and they are graduating first week of June. So, and it is actually digital skills. And once you have those skills, even if nobody employs you, you will start earning money immediately. Then the next batch will be recruited. We start their class in June. So it is already happening. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Kind of some of the initiatives diasporans also looking to sponsoring to make it more kind of available widely. Anybody else who has anything to say? I've looked into the chat box. I don't see. Somebody said about our diaspora remittances goes to our. No. That's it's been. Somebody said, have we in diaspora ever lobbied Nigerian Congress to debate voting rights for us? And Mabie answered and said that bill was killed in the National Assembly. I have a question here. So this is, I don't know whether this is a good forum, but I just want to throw it out there because it's been on my mind for some time. Is there any group, does anybody know of any group that's been doing anything towards working on the Constitution? What is a constitutional amendment? I think there was a circular that was released that was asking for people to work on aspects of constitutional amendments to submit to the National Assembly. Do we know groups who are doing this?
The only group I know, for now, is I think we had. I was called into a meeting with them yesterday. Is NIDE? No, not NIDE. NADECO. They are holding a conference in Houston, I think sometimes in July, to discuss which way Nigeria, and in the process, try to craft kind of a generic constitution for Nigeria, or amendments to the different sections of the constitution to see how they can make it better. That's the only one I know that is doing that at this moment.
Our deadline for submission for that particular circular, I think it was sometime this month or so. But I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so I yield the floor back to you, Martin. If
Yes, thank you, Cheta. Thank you very much for all the assistance in coordinating this question and answer session. The only thing I'm going to throw out there to our guests today, please, if you can put in your contact information on the chat, so we'll be able to, get back to you. We will appreciate that, because like we said, DADA is still a growing organization. We need all the help that we can get, contributing your ideas and things like that will not be taken lightly. So please try to join DADA, go to the website, familiarize yourself with the website, and then we can go from there. Thanks again. I would like to please ask Dr. Cordelia Udo to please give us a vote of thanks. Dr. Cordelia, please.
Are we going to meet after this?
Yes. After this, we just have a very brief meeting.
Honestly, sorry, Martin.
Yes, please.
Desmond speaking. I wanted to make some addition to what you're saying. I know Cordelia would have liked to use it along, but so if you don't mind, just a minute, can I?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. When you were talking about DADA and what it should do, I understand it was said that DADA should operate from outside the political interference of African political leadership. I beg to differ there, because if DADA doesn't have any political influence in what is happening in the country, it can do nothing. It will be another NGO that just says things and they cannot do anything. So my suggestion is that DADA has to work towards getting the diaspora recognized as a relevant actor in the Nigerian political circle. In other words, DADA should be part and parcel of a political party. Anyone that identifies, it has member in a branch there that represent the interests of DADA all over Africa. And when DADA speaks, DADA is speaking for Africa, not just Nigeria. They can interfere in any country in Africa and make things happen. That is the role of DADA. And that is why it is a very important organization, different from NADECO, which sees through Nigerian affairs and cannot influence anything happening in any other African country. So that number called DADA that represents the whole of Africa, we can make it grow. And I believe very strongly that most of us in this thing that are interested in DADA are Pan-Africanists. I'm one, and I know what my goal is. We are taking it from different angles. Somebody talked about education, education, education. Yes, how would the influence of DADA be felt for it to have a representation in the different political parties, not only in Nigeria, but in the rest of Africa? But through education, for instance, while I was about leaving the African Union, we did it together, an organization called FISA, Foundation for Indigenous Students of Africa. It has started, is located at the University of Nairobi. I'm not from Kenya, I'm a Nigerian. But it was working there. What it needed was the support to take it up. And we train experts in different fields, which experts can influence what is happening in the continent. That is the relevance of DADA. If it is relevant in the political system, nobody can push it aside. For example, in Nigeria, it should have a representation. If it doesn't have, I know when Dr. Kado talked, he talked about supporting some senators or raising some senators in the House that will represent the interest. This is very, very, very key. If DADA is to wield the kind of influence people like me think it would wield, having seen the continent, the way it operates, so many forces are at play. The forces DADA will face are not just African forces. Those, our politicians can be bought with money by anybody. What will kill DADA and what will give it its biggest headache is powers from outside. Because the continent, the way it is, everybody knows it is there as a resource, as a resource material for developing and developed countries. I cannot go there and talk about it. So the first thing DADA has to do is this education thing. Let it concentrate, educate its people, especially in the area you're talking about, technology. That is very, very, very important. When its branches are strong in these things, it will take time. You did say it is not a marathon even. It's something bigger than a marathon for it to grow. If every year something is put in place that works, like the economic side, which we are working on, that I support. The political side has to be taken side by side with it. Gradually, we field a presidential candidate that wins. We field senators that win. And that way, DADA would have a say in the affairs of Africa. And this will be the new African liberation, because we don't have it for now. Believe me, what I saw was African leaders being bought over by mere money, a little money. They don't have any political will for Africa. They are there for themselves. And believe me, what I saw, I haven't said it. By God's grace, one day they will all come out. But this is my little contribution now. And we will talk much later together. And then I'll be more free to open up the areas I have foreseen we should look into. Thank you very much. And thank you for the patience and giving me time to make this little contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Desmond. Thank you. Your enormous experiences will, I'm sure, help us move DADA in the right direction. But the way I believe we constitute DADA, I may stand to be corrected by the VOT chairman, is that DADA is non-partisan, helping organizations in Africa to push our agenda towards Africa. Like we have taken Nigeria as a pilot project. We're looking for organizations in Nigeria that we can use to help push this agenda. You know, I think COPDEM is one of them. There are other, NADECO is there, and probably NIDO, that we might all form a coalition. We might not be directly involved, but they are going to know that we are there to support them, give them ideas. And the most importantly, I know we are always talking about foreign influence. No, I want us to please disabuse ourselves. Yes, there's foreign influence. Why is it that it's only us that are influenced? Why can't we influence it the other way around? Does it mean that, okay, because they have the financial power? I know growing up in those days in my village, or when I visit the village, because I didn't really grow up in the village, we hear this little adage that when you go to a rich man's house, that you know is going to insult you, even if you are hungry. They will bring out all the beautiful food there. You protrude your stomach to look like you have eaten too much at home while you are hungry. But that culture has changed. That now everybody is struggling for food. You sell your morals. Your children are kidnapping their parents for anything. So my own objective is, if DADA can be able to change the mentality of the upcoming generations, then we have been able to solve half of the problem of Africa. Thank you. So Dr. Cordelia, please, if you can give us a vote of thanks, I will appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Cordelia.
Yes, so I thank you all. We thank Martin, Mia, Dan, Chete, Kevin, and all the speakers for your insights to educate diasporans on their impact in Nigeria via their remittances. I hope that we shall find our roles via our remittances. That's all I can say. We can really be a powerhouse through many ways if we manage them well. So we keep hearing. We hope that more of this can come. More people with other ideas will come around to show us how. And I applaud the efforts that DADA is doing. I had an earful from Mia today. All the visions. We pray that all of them can be implemented and be a success. We also hope that COBDIN and DDM, Diaspora Digital Media, will also have the impact that we're hoping they will have. All this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cordelia. I would like to call on our dear sister Stella Ovie to please give us a closing remark. We've tried to do this about almost 2 hours into this, so we can call it a day. Stella, please. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I think there's an Honorable Amateur Core that put something in the chat. Can you look at that real quick?
Okay, these are just ideas, of areas that we can be of, or areas that we can look into in the developmental effort in Africa. Yeah, they are well noted. I'm sure they will be included in the recording of this meeting.
I'm not sure
I'm
not sure Stella is actively with us because she's not responding.
I'm trying to ask her to unmute. Kevin, can you please try to ask her to unmute, or can you unmute her? Oh boy. Well, if not, well, let me just say thank you all again for attending this conference. As for the wealth and knowledge that Dr. Idika would have given to us today, we might have to take a rain check on that and try to reschedule him on a later date. And we hope that everyone here will try to attend the next Kalu's conference. We're going to be having another conference next month on a different topic, and we'll keep everybody posted. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and this meeting is now closed for the conference. And if you want to please hang on for our official meeting, which hopefully will last about 15 minutes, because we don't have much to discuss today. You can hang on, but now we are beginning our official meeting. So on that ground, I'll say thanks again for the DADA official meeting starting up, and this is for DADA members and any other person who would like to hear what we're saying. DADA, we believe in complete transparency.
I think you ask Kevin to stop the live streaming.
I think, has he? Kevin, have you stopped? I thought he did earlier on.
No, he didn't. He's still streaming live.
It's still streaming. Okay. Kevin, are you there?
No, you're old.
Are you sure he has not slept?
Who knows? Yeah, it should be.
And only him can stop it.
Oh no!
Being the host.
I think the best way, if we can't get him, we just end this process.
Yes,
and reconnect again.
Yeah. Okay. That
with the link that wasn't working.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think Dr. Cordelia just
let me try to call him. Let me see.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think Dr. Cordelia just called you a melted Malteser.
Dr. Cordelia, somebody is speaking, wanting to. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Now, what did they want me to do?
I'm trying to call Kevin.
Yeah, I heard Dr. Cordelia call,
I'm
say
calling
something
Kevin.
bad, I think. He called you a melted Malteser because you're bald.
What did they say?
Who is this man?
You called him a melted Malteser. I think that's
Kevin,
disrespectful.
can you please stop the live streaming?
Somebody has hacked into our conference.
Yeah, they should hack into it. That's the only thing they know how to do anyway. They cannot hack to repair their country, can they? Only to hack and talk rubbish. I'm sure